Imagine an extraterrestrial arriving on Earth. It would observe phenomena such as the Earth's orbit around the Sun, accompanied by the succession of day and night cycles, along with the existence of man and woman. It would note their physiological features: 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 arms, 2 legs. It might also remark upon the coexistence of humans and animals within an ecosystem composed of earth, water, air, and fire. This methodical and objective lens invites us to reflect on the meaning of our lives and our relationship to the divine. Takeism does not seek answers in a hypothetical afterlife, but rather in the extraordinary phenomena here and now, those that transcend human understanding. Takeist philosophy explores the omnipresent dualities at the heart of human existence to formulate its principles and propose its hypotheses. We live through cycles of wakefulness and sleep. We alternate between sweet and salty in our cuisine. These physical dualities, independent of our will, condition and influence human behavior. Takeism sheds light on the foundational balances of life through the symbolic powers of the numbers 4 and 2. Duality reveals itself in all things, from space and time to matter and consciousness. These numbers, as universal symbols, exist in latent form within the fabric of the universe and of life. Takeism relies on simple observation to uncover an innate logic. The number 4. Life is built from 4 fundamental atoms: carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen. 4 forces govern the universe: gravitation, electromagnetism, the strong nuclear force, and the weak nuclear force. 4 major types of galaxies have been identified: spiral, lenticular, elliptical, and irregular. DNA is composed of 4 bases: ACGT, adenine, cytosine, guanine, thymine. 4 seasons divide the calendar year: spring, summer, autumn, winter. The number 2. The duality of space and time defines a core relationship in physics. Protons and neutrons form the essential atomic balance in matter. Day and night alternate to sustain life on Earth. Wakefulness and sleep regulate our mental and physiological cycles. Human and animal side by side, a duality essential to the study of evolution and ecology. Good and evil, a central theme in philosophical and religious traditions. In electricity, positive and negative charges. In geophysics, the North Pole and the South Pole. The numbers 4 and 2 demonstrate striking convergence across scientific and philosophical fields, revealing recurring motifs and foundational dualities. This convergence suggests the potential for fruitful collaboration among scholars of various disciplines, in pursuit of a common goal: discovering the ultimate truth.
From the perspective of Takeism, the human being is understood as a microcosm of the Earth, emphasizing the interconnection of natural structures across multiple scales. The similarities between microscopic formations, such as cellular networks, and macroscopic structures, such as transportation systems and rivers, are striking. Humanity appears as a mirror of the surrounding world, reflecting the same forces and patterns at different levels of reality. This approach seeks to transcend the artificial boundaries between the spiritual and the material, recognizing instead the underlying unity of all things.
Takeism aspires to transcend the temporal contingencies of its era, striving toward a degree of reflective excellence. This philosophy seeks to locate authentic faith. Suspended between states of wakefulness and sleep, humankind turns to belief in search of an intermediary realm. At the frontier of the spiritual domain, left fallow through the seasons, introspective meditation allows one to connect with an energy that men have long named God. Man is a chameleon shaped by his environment. Characterology, although singular to each individual, finds echoes in climates. Expressions like clear outlook, sunny disposition, atmospheric depression, and heavy showers belong to the same semantic family. Man embodies the earth born of water. A birth beneath a July sun at its zenith imprints the infant with a specific temperament. Those born under the sign of Leo often exert a natural presence. The sun, after all, reigns supreme in that season. Virgo natives, famed for precision, are born in September, the time of harvest, when one separates wheat from chaff. Hence their meticulous nature, their talent for splitting hairs. Human temperaments may be dry, cold, sanguine, or humid. All living beings are a delicate blend of water, fire, earth, and air. These four elements, mirroring the four seasons, form the bedrock of Takeism, which draws upon such clues to illustrate the innate structure of the universe through the symbols 4 and 2. Watching crowds cross the streets prompts reflection. What role does the human being truly serve within the universe? Is he programmed like social insects despite his free will? In an anthill, each function occupies a designated chamber. The stable for aphids, the granary for seeds, the sentry hall, the dump for corpses and waste, the nursery where eggs are arranged by age. A compost chamber regulates temperature. Similarities between man and insects become strikingly apparent. The ant's instinct finds complex echoes within the human psyche. Takeism teaches that every living being moves according to its scale. Humans are born with predispositions that guide them toward specific tasks. A writer and a mathematician interpret the world through letters and numbers, respectively. While the scientist builds aircraft to defy physical limits, the writer feels no such need. His realm is rooted in imagination. The human condition is intrinsically complex, rendering nothing permanent or absolute. A scientist may grasp numbers poetically, revealing an intellectual openness that resists forms of intelligence shaped to serve political or economic validation. For centuries, intelligence has been shaped to conform to a predetermined mold, like batter cast into a waffle iron, tailored to align with power structures and dominate other expressions of thought. This specific breed of intelligence has produced warlords, industry captains and traders, driven to monopolize wealth. The dominant prevalence of gifted individuals in the realm of calculation has forged an archetype of binary thought across societal domains, be they political or economic. This worldview implies that all tasks may be resolved as if they were mere mathematical equations. To possess wealth is to wield the power to obtain whatever one desires. In contrast, to lack it is to be deemed fragile, sentenced to an existence of survival. Where the philosopher searches the light of the soul, the scientist quantifies an external source of illumination. Views diverge on God, forming a binary system in which good stands opposed to evil, and each selects their allegiance. Some claim God without evidence, prescribing belief atop a scaffold of dogma. Humanity grounds its analyses much as it weighs its own mass, validating reality through tangible form. Yet the body, the seat of the spirit, is driven by an engine that defies quantification. The scientist explains the mechanism, the philosopher seeks its purpose. Matter itself becomes inscribed in reflection. On a microscopic scale, antibodies repel intruders, echoing the way nations defend their borders. In the beginning, man, driven by the search for sustenance, claimed his hunting ground. The one most adept at this endeavor became leader. He appointed a second, sharp-minded enough to manage the land. Time flowed onward. The hunting ground became a territory, then an emerging state. But it was betrayal that turned governance into a matter of state. The second, veiling ambition in the guise of friendship, sought to usurp his superior. Thus was politics born, from a clash of interest coupled with deceit. For the second had concealed his origin, he hailed from another land. Once in power, he unified the tribes. Centuries passed, clusters of cells merged, forming increasingly dominant entities. Borders emerged as echoes from the distant past, accompanied by treaties of non-aggression, none of which prevented war. Conflict unfolded at every scale, even within the tissues of the human body, where viruses and antibodies waged perpetual combat. What transpired in the infinitesimal mirrored life at human height. Elimination came by way of temperament or by malignant growth. The world we inhabit still rests on the foundations of ancient hunting grounds. The modern man remains a primitive unawares, for borders persist. In some distant future, humanity will regard our era with the same estrangement with which we now contemplate the prehistoric age. By this doctrine, human modes of communication remain primitive, akin to the tropisms of plants, when held against the excellence that awaits our species in millennia to come. As ethnicities intermingle, a true language shall rise, one that expands the frontiers of comprehension and flows multidirectionally, rooted in the senses. Takeism holds that the 20th century was marked by an omnipresence of egocentrism across all spheres of life, a condition fated to linger for millennia still. Egocentrism clouds perception and leads to the illegitimate appropriation of qualities such as intelligence, which is not a human invention but a spontaneous manifestation of an intrinsically intelligent environment. Man merely discovers what lies dormant in the cosmos. A compelling example of this intrinsic intelligence is found in the crystalline forms of quartz, the play of light through opals, and the transparent geometry of aquamarine. Stones possess intricate structures, trigonal, hexagonal, icosahedral, without any human intervention. Nature performs calculations unceasingly, man merely rediscovers them. At every scale of the universe, an omnipresent mathematical logic governs structure and phenomenon. Stones, by their mere presence, affirm the physical reality of the cosmos. They bear witness to the Big Bang through the chromatic whispers revealed by sunlight. In the course of his evolution, man abandoned stones and walked onward over stratified ground, convinced by ego that he stood as a chosen being at the apex of life's pyramid. He proclaimed dominion over all kingdoms by virtue of intellect. Yet his intelligence is but a fragment of a superior universal intelligence, native to the architecture of the universe itself. Thus did man at last lay claim to light, building lighthouses to sweep beams across the sea. But does he truly comprehend that light preceded him? In the abyss, the photoblepharon swims with its photophores, wielding organic beacons to stalk prey. Through a chemical reaction, living matter has mastered luminescence. In inventing photography, humankind succeeded in replicating the mechanism of the eye. Chameleon-like, man can blend into his surroundings. But would the idea of flight have ever taken root had birds not existed? Man is a counterfeiter who draws inspiration from the original. Though he fashioned the airplane, he did not invent flight. The bird in flight will always surpass his creation. The copy inevitably falls short of the masterpiece. Takeism posits that human and animal intelligences are merely inflections of a greater intelligence, one expressed through the molecular and atomic dance that animates all things. Chemical processes unfold beyond our command, indifferent to our choices or notions of free will. Life adapts endlessly to its environment. Algae, trees, ants, elephants. Each living being follows its own evolutionary logic. Man interprets the world through the lens of his capabilities, just as a hovering bird reads the creases of the land beneath its wings. The universe was conceived with intention, and intelligence is among its foundational pillars. Through the lenses of microscopes and telescopes, we glimpse this innate design. Human intelligence is but an infinitesimal sliver of a multidirectional, ultimate intelligence. This supreme intelligence gave birth to language, and each species carries its own. The dolphin's sonar, the wind rustling through leaves, these are utterances of a universal tongue. Every birth arrives with a unique DNA signature, an innate grammar that binds all living organisms. The letters ACGT of DNA recur everywhere, affirming the universe's inherent structure through four major realms: mineral, vegetal, animal, and human. Man is a condensation of the cosmos, and the ideas that flare within his mind are akin to shooting stars, born of the same essence, fleeting and radiant. Between the 20th and the 20,000th century, languages will stammer before converging toward a shared grammatical foundation. Humanity will strive to refine its own speech, to decode its latent syntax, like deciphering the invisible languages already flowing around us, though modern man, stricken by a kind of metaphysical blindness, remains deaf to their presence. A bird cutting across the path of a car might foretell imminent danger. The swaying of trees in the wind might signal a botanical lexicon, opening new avenues of understanding with the vegetal realm. Intelligence is not a possession but an aptitude, a force that threads its way through evolution, adopting the forms best suited to its moment. It spreads in all directions simultaneously, from the blossoming of flowers to the spiraling of galaxies. According to Takeism, intelligence shapes our attributes as deliberately as an aircraft is sculpted to maximize aerodynamic potential. In a distant age, it will be accepted that both man and ant are participants in a greater design, one whose finality is known even if not yet grasped. Human intelligence will serve not itself alone, but the well-being of all living species. It will become the steward of a world free from predation. Yet before arriving at such an evolution, man unconsciously mirrors the conflicts observable at every scale of the cosmos. Wars, quarrels, and divorces echo the same essential nature as viruses, tempests, and black holes. Human egocentrism, fixated on domination, impels him to assert supremacy over all other kingdoms. To name this destructive force, Takeism introduces the concept of predivism, a principle of predatory instinct that governs politics, economics, even sport. It may take millennia before humanity acknowledges that its loftiest thoughts belong to a vast, absolute consciousness that encompasses all forms of language: mineral, vegetal, animal, and human. In time, the human ear, having heard birdsong endlessly, will come to understand that its own music is but a variation on a universal score. The universe, as cosmic conductor, gives the tempo to which all living beings tune their instruments. One day, far off, man will discover a primordial sound whose wavelength stretches to infinity. Eventually, humanity will accept that it never held the monopoly on intelligence. It will concede that it invented neither light, nor music, nor spaceflight, but merely interpreted them. It will acknowledge at last that in many domains, vegetal and animal species possess specializations far beyond its own. Unlike birds, man had to learn to fly. The dolphin communicates across distance without the burden of Morse code or telephone lines. Ants have practiced social organization for millennia. Man invented binoculars, yet the eagle has always possessed an astonishing visual acuity. When measured against the dog's scent, human olfaction borders on infirmity. According to Takeist philosophy, man is gifted with individual consciousness, but animal species share a unified collective awareness. Thus, no single animal can be truly compared to a human in isolation. Should the attributes of the mineral, vegetal, and animal realms ever be fused into one singular being, a higher human, possessing extraordinary physical and psychological capacities? The end of predativism, that gratuitous aggression wielded as power over others, will come only when humanity has assimilated the innate aptitudes of the mineral, vegetal, and animal kingdoms, developing a language capable of unveiling senses long concealed. A universal intelligence, akin to a shared field of resonance, shall then link all living beings. In a distant future, it will be acknowledged that sensation is an intrinsic property of the cosmos, that no one species may claim supremacy over perception. For nature bestows upon each form of life its own consummate physiology. On the scale of lifespan, man is far from the most favored. There exist species far better attuned to the measure of time. The Galapagos tortoise may live 2 centuries, ancient trees several thousand years. The quintessence of certain senses eludes mankind, who finds himself disarmed before species endowed with extraordinary capacities. Each living being possesses a singular brilliance, though it may be limited to one dominant faculty. Yet all participate in sensation, and from sensation arise emotion. All life is woven into a shared network, connected to an absolute heart composed of infinite frequencies. Thus, beings are united not merely by biology, but by a universal intelligence that transcends space and time. There was the Stone Age, the Iron Age, the Age of Tools, the apex of technique. And in some faraway future, the 20th century shall be remembered as the age of space, a time when distances collapsed beneath wings and signals, as aircraft and television unlocked new cartographies of reach. Electricity embodied this spatial emancipation, and it was Einstein who gave it final propulsion. This era unfolded beneath a rising tide of materialism. The triumph over space cast a shadow over the soul. It became the age of the object. A smartphone possessed, a tablet displayed. Athletes traded like commodities for the value of their physique, models admired for the currency of their anatomy. Such was the 20th century. In an unimaginably distant future, unprecedented phenomena shall emerge, reshaping our understanding of physical reality. The goal will be to master the primordial energy, the source from which life springs. At the moment of birth, when the infant releases its first cry, life is proclaimed in language, a spontaneous echo of a primeval verb, an ancestral utterance woven into instinct. According to Takeist philosophy, it is through the meeting of two beings that spacetime is seeded, and thus physical reality is born. One day, we shall harness the very source to which masculine and feminine seek reunion. At the origin there is infinite love, the bedrock of life's unfolding. This love precedes existence. It foreshadows the essence of all things. It is, in itself, a premonition of that place. In Birthing the Universe, Takeism asserts that the Big Bang was not mere explosion, but the first act of love. All living kingdoms reenact this primordial instant, casting the reproductive process into a newly illuminated frame. From the Big Bang emerges life in serial bloom. Seasons continue their cycle, flowers open and then decay, nature unfurls its verdant scroll, rooting itself in matter. If the universe expands, then one day it shall contract, returning to its origin. Trace a circle from a single point and you shall return to it. It is the immutable law of form. In the same way, the universe will one day circle back to its own genesis. Like a conductor before his orchestra, the Big Bang orchestrates the heartbeats of species, their inhalations and exhalations, the pulse of existence itself. Takeism posits that the sexual act is a reenactment of the Big Bang. Just as sperm cells surge toward the ovum, so do stars diffuse across the universe. Stars and spermatozoa are analogous. nearly of the same nature. From this convergence, life was born, guided by a single rhythm, the beating of a heart. The heart, a miniaturized echo of the universal motions unleashed by the Big Bang, synchronizes living organisms through a primordial pulse. This same beat resounds across every scale of life, from the infinitesimal to the infinite. One day, an impulse was cast forth, the star-filled sky took on the appearance of a firework frozen mid-burst, and the movement of the universe found its mirror in the vibrancy of cellular life. In observing a spinal radiograph, one might liken the brain to a vegetable nestled in the soil. Yet let us imagine not a root crop, but the cross-section of a tree rooting itself into the earth as it rises toward light. The brain, tethered to the spinal column from which the nerves extend, resembles a tree trunk lined with branches. Gray matter evokes the rounded foliage of a parasol pine. Thus, the body becomes the fertile soil of the spirit, our nerves its roots. Life implants itself within us as a plant in the field or a tree in the forest. Takeism proposes a renewed vision of space and time, embodied in the genital organs and the brain, situated at the opposing poles of the spinal column. This axis is conceived in three dimensions. The brain, seat of the spirit, with its twin hemispheres, represents the perception of temporal cycles. The genital organs, reflecting the spatial field, are illustrated through masculine and feminine forms. This geometry rests upon number and symbol. 2 for the spirit, invoking duality and time's fluid loops, embodied by the circle. 4 for the body, anchoring interaction with physical space, the square as its emblem, embodied by the square. Space and time may be conceived as entities akin to a nerve or a muscle. The brain, origin point of the spinal column, incarnates time. At the opposing extremity, the genital system embodies space. Space and time, body and spirit, stand positioned at either end of the vertebral axis. The number 2, representing the brain and its dual hemispheres, symbolizes the mind and its perception of temporal cycles, embodied by the circle. The number 4, representing the genital organs, symbolizes the body and its interaction with physical space, embodied by the square. A rudimentary anatomical analysis reveals that in men, organs such as the rectum, penis, and testicles constitute a grouping of 4 distinct structures. In parallel fashion, within the female anatomy, the rectum, ovaries, and uterus form a corresponding ensemble of 4 anatomical elements. Takeism evokes the image of a majorette twirling a wand adorned at its ends with a cube and a sphere, visual metaphors of space and time. This wand, emblematic of the spine, where space and time reside at its 2 extremities, moves at a velocity surpassing that of light. It is the speed inherent to life itself, a rhythm that, in some ineffable way, stabilizes existence. This conception of an absolute velocity is expounded upon in the work 42, The Ultimate Inquiry. For millions of years, humankind's principal ambition has been the conquest of space, manifested through expanding territories. A symbolism of the body's predominance in physical domains, compensating for the fallow grounds of the soul. Man shall liberate himself from this estrangement by acknowledging the body's inherent limitations. The emancipation of time will allow the gaze to stretch beyond death. Contrary to belief, the universe was not born at a fixed time or place. In seeking to date its birth, humanity inevitably falters, for it apprehends the cosmos in its own image, bound between a beginning and an end. In truth, there exists an ultimate universe, at the intersection of space and time, of body and mind. A transcendent existence that lies beyond the reach of material perception. In Takeist thought, birth is likened to the Big Bang, an explosive and implosive instant traumatic for the newborn who, at a precise moment in time and fixed location in space, enters a body unknown to them. It is here that space-time congeals. The infant's first cry becomes a rupture, like a sonic wave severing ancestral memory, heralding the emergence of individual consciousness, balancing the realms of body and mind. Takeism reframes death not as an end, but as a transformation, a passage that contributes to the essential equality among all living beings. In this vision, death is a natural transition, not a threat. It serves as a point of equilibrium within existence itself, allowing for a spiritual metamorphosis. Such a perspective stands in contrast to the modern materialist view of death, which often interprets cessation as extinction. Instead, it invites an awakening, a renewed perception, where terrestrial experience may be transfigured into a state of transcendence. Takeism reimagines the concept of God not as a figure, but as an elusive energy, an unspeakable presence beyond grasp or form. Hell, within this framework, is not a distant realm, it is a terrestrial condition to be overcome. It is embodied in the human form itself, a site of suffering and constraint, an architecture of limitation. The first cry symbolizes the spirit's effort to establish equilibrium between these two states. To transform this hell into paradise requires a profound understanding of the logos, the primordial word, an awakening that allows the individual to transcend the earthly condition. Takeist philosophy rests upon foundational principles, rendered accessible through a series of diagrams designed to situate the living within the greater architecture of the universe. This philosophical inquiry takes the form of a quiz, drawn directly from the book 42, The Ultimate Inquiry, published in February 2014. Takeo runs his finger across the surface of a table, tracing a horizontal line. At its center, he marks a single point to represent the living being within a portion of space. Parallel to that first line, he draws a second, situating the living being in time. Question 1. On space and time. Do we live in a finite or infinite universe? B. A pedestrian stands at a precise location. Can we affirm that the space in front of him is equal to the space behind? C. The same pedestrian advances by 100 meters. Is the amount of space before and behind still equal? D. In both cases, is the pedestrian the center of space? Is time finite or infinite? F. An individual is born on July 24, 1980. Does finite or infinite time exist before and after that date? G. The same individual has aged 20 years. Does finite or infinite time exist before and after that date? H. In questions F and G, is the individual the center of time? Takeo's reflections on the infinity of space and time. With these initial lines, Takeo positions the living being at the absolute center of infinite space and infinite time. The principle is elementary. No matter the point's displacement along the line, there will always remain an equal amount of space on either side. This logic extends to time as well. Thus, each living being occupies the absolute central point of infinite spacetime, as illustrated in Figure 1. On the concept of the absolute central point of space and time. What are space and time? Answer 1. Spontaneous manifestations. Answer 2. Entities that would not exist without the presence of the living. Question 3. If we place a series of points along the lines representing space and time, can each point be considered an absolute central point? Hypothesis 1. Let us imagine 1,000,000 of these points along the line, each representing a living being, each being an absolute central point. Can we conceive that these points converge into a single and same medium? Hypothesis 2. If these points indeed converge into one and the same absolute medium, can we then consider that a single point on the line by extension becomes the entire line? Takeo's reflections on the absolute central point. Each point, or degree, along the line is equally an absolute medium. Takeism thus holds that the living being, by extension, becomes the entire line. Indeed, its position merges with all other points of identical nature. Absolute central points, each incarnated by the living. For those who struggle to grasp this concept, and believe these points must necessarily differ due to their physical attributes, form, color, texture. Here is the response. It is not the visual distinction of these points that matters, it is the nature of the lines themselves, and therein lies the reason. Space and time could not exist without the phenomenon of life. These lines represent an absolute state of existence, infinite by nature. Imagine removing 1,000 living beings, or points, from these lines. What remains? Life itself, or ultimate infinite existence. Living beings may take on diverse forms, but they share a singular condition: they exist. If one perishes, life persists, enduring through the lines that embody absolute existence. The Takeist philosophy therefore asserts that no point may truly be extracted from the line, for it was present in space at a given moment in time, permanently, infinitely. This infinite permanence expresses, I am. I exist, therefore infinitely, in a moment and in a place. Existence is a present and continuous state that knows neither past nor future, and affirms that the living being is simultaneously space and time. These points, each a living being, are inherently infinite, for they dwell perpetually within existence itself. Their inclusion or exclusion from the lines is irrelevant, for at some moment and in some place, the living has transcended them. As one of the infinite degrees of time, the living being is inscribed as the absolute central point of permanence, of infinity. By nature, it becomes the line itself, it becomes time. The same applies to space. It becomes space. By inhabiting permanence at a moment and in a location, the living being belongs to a continuity beyond itself, whether living or not, present or absent. The existence of the universe is perpetuated along these lines, where, in a place and at a moment, it was once present. And when the living disappears, it returns to space and time, becoming once more space and time in their entirety. Question 3. On infinity. A. At the scale of infinity, an individual measuring 1.80 meters is. Answer 1. Invisible, transparent at an infinitely small or vast scale. Answer 2. Visible as their body is a physical reality. Answer 3. Both visible and invisible at once. Takeist's reflection. Through this diagram, we see that a point may be both visible and invisible. At an infinitely small scale, it becomes transparent. Certain waves pass through it without encountering the slightest resistance. And yet, despite its seeming invisibility, the point remains measurable, across the infinitesimal and the immense. Thus, this dual-natured point, visible and invisible, becomes both container and contained. Its position is irrelevant, it represents the center. A center that is, simultaneously, infinitely small and infinitely vast. From this premise, the notion that the body vanishes upon death is an illusion. In truth, we do not disappear, for we were present upon these lines at a given place in a given moment. Take, for example, the game of Go and the black stones positioned across the Goban, as many centers in an infinite field. Through this meditative exercise of questions and answers, Takeism measures your level of awareness and openness of spirit. From the parallel lines that symbolize space and time, Takeo constructs two interwoven sets. Question 4. On space-time duality. Space has a particular affinity with select 2, the mind, the body, day, night. B. Time has a particular affinity with select 2, the body, the mind, night, day. Takeo's response. Within the cosmos, all is duality. On one side there is day, on the other night. Day, symbol of life, holds a distinct relationship with the body and with space. In daylight, space is liberated by a glance, its contours are grasped with ease. Physical movement asserts its limits. In day, consciousness reigns. Space becomes objective, tangible, we can touch it, hold objects and perceive their form and structure. Opposite to day, night shares a profound affinity with the mind and with time, symbol of death. And the reason is clear. At night, the mind transcends time, rendering it relative. A night of sleep may seem to pass in an instant. In darkness, the spirit governs duration, freed from the mass of the physical body, able to convert any span of time into light-speed awareness. Through this rhythmic oscillation of day and night, the living being sways between wakefulness and sleep with purpose. According to Takeist philosophy, each night, upon surrendering to sleep, the living being prepares for imminent death. Each morning, upon waking, he recalls the how and why of his birth. From these states of awakening and slumber, all dualities within the universe unfold. Question 5. When all is duality. Having identified the dualities of space and time, body and spirit, day and night, life and death, what other dualities may we conceive from the following terms? Earth, fire, cat, square, sun, awakening, dog, air, water, sleep, circle, moon. B. Which of these terms bear affinity with space? C. Which align with time? Answer. Awakening and sleep, sun and moon, earth and water, fire and air, square and circle, even cat and dog. These dualities permeate every domain of existence. One could enumerate them endlessly. Takeo resumes the drawing, left poised in stillness. A pair of parallel lines marked by a point, each representing the living being at the center of space and time. Question 6. What will Takeo draw? A flower pot, a straight line, a penguin? A clue. Awakening and sleep are two interconnected states. Answer. Takeo draws a vertical line to connect the 2 points. The figure now resembles a Roman I, flanked by infinite horizontal bars. It represents the linkage between the states of wakefulness and sleep, between which the living being alternates. This vertical line drawn between the 2 points gives rise to a field of spacetime whose architecture rests upon the binary framework previously traced. Day and night, wakefulness and sleep, body and mind. The living being thus transitions between consciousness and unconsciousness, a ceaseless movement between light and shadow. Question 7. What will Takeo add to complete the drawing? Clue. The living being, situated within spacetime, occupies the physical reality of the universe, and perceives its contours. But which ones? Answer choices. 1. The arc of a circle. 2. The sides or angles of a square. Takeo's response. Takeo draws two vertical lines extending from the ends of the horizontal space line, joining them to the extremities of time. The figure now reveals itself as a square bisected by a vertical axis. This construction symbolizes a space-time integrated within the physical reality of the living, whose boundaries are naturally delimited by the horizontal axis upon which it stands. Inscribed within the structure of a square, present on both sides, the living being enters what may be called an objective universe, validated by the alternating rhythm of wakefulness and sleep, of body and spirit. The vertical line within the square affirms this physical reality. Question 8. What will Takeo draw to complete the vertical line? First clue, what is shared between day and night? B. Second clue, what connects wakefulness and sleep? C. Third clue, what is the common link between man and animal? Takeo sketches a third point along the vertical axis, placed equidistant between the two existing marks, see figure 7. This third point, poised between wakefulness and sleep, becomes the absolute median, the locus of intersection between light and darkness, the perfect equilibrium of body and spirit. To illustrate this diagram, Takeo opens his palms and conjures a fold of hills rising above the ocean. He then transitions the scene from daylight to nightfall, pausing the sun just as it touches the horizon, far beyond the sea's edge. We observe then that though day and night carry symbolic tones of black and white, they share the same orange-red hue at sunrise and sunset. Opposed to light and shadow, between clarity and obscurity, an infinite palette unfolds, weaving sleep and wakefulness, body and mind into spectral unity. Within this gradient of colors, a single point of intersection dissolves all dualities named by Takeist philosophy. This point represents a perfect state of equilibrium, a form of awakening that, like the sun at the horizon, reveals through the arc of a semicircle the true meaning of existence. From within this state, a distinct light sculpts the sharpness of perception. It produces a kind of clairvoyance, nestled in the in-between, between consciousness and unconsciousness, between sleep and awakening. Meditation is a pathway to this zone. But to what end? Between human and animal, is not the vegetal realm, and by extension all of nature, the true embodiment of the absolute middle? Undoubtedly so. Nature is the primal medium of all forms of life. A state of clairvoyance grants passage into the essence of nature, and through it, the essence of life itself. This new point traced by Takeo reveals further dimensions. He completes the figure by drawing two diagonals, each rising from the ends of the horizontal line that represents space, and reaching toward time, see figure 8. The absolute middle now takes on a new form. It becomes the point of union within a structure of infinite dimensions, the shape of an hourglass. Here, a simultaneous equilibrium of all dualities, derived from the spacetime continuum, comes into being. This point gathers a state beyond measurement. It is a dimension outside the grid of body and soul, of space and time, one that can be perceived only from the stillness of its central position. With a few strokes, we shift from the rigid frame of a Roman eye, see figure 6, to the living symmetry of an hourglass, its diagonals evoking escape, its architecture transcending the inflexibility of the square. Completion of the figure. To complete the drawing, Takeo adds a final horizontal line that passes precisely through the absolute center, intersecting both diagonals and the vertical axis, see figure 9. This line, reminiscent of the sun slicing the horizon at dusk, represents an escape line, a trajectory beyond space and time, offering a renewed perspective on the true nature of existence. At this juncture, the absolute center becomes the point of convergence, where space and time merge and where a square, divided by four lines, finds its axis. Takeo uses the ends of the vertical and horizontal lines as centers for four distinct circles, each defined by a circumference that crosses the absolute middle. For those who struggle to grasp the nature of these circles, consider this. An infinity of lines passing through a single point describes a circle of infinite magnitude. These four circles arise naturally from the diagonals that divide the square. Thus, life unfolds within a binary system, the square as a visible entity and the circle endowed with an invisible nature. Both figures manifest within the diagram, see figure 10, where the living being stands simultaneously as the center of a square and a circle initiated by the diagonals. Question 9. What do these diagrams invoke? Clue. What do all living beings share? The figure now resembles a four-blade helix. The point of intersection, the absolute middle, radiates dualities outward through a double 8, one vertical, one horizontal, see figure 12. This design marks the living being as the primordial nature of the universe, and thereby of space and time. By residing within the absolute middle, humanity gains access to ultimate permanence, existence itself, located at the threshold of space and time. The two perpendicular eights metamorphose into hourglasses, into a four-blade helix. The blades take the shape of funnels, their wider ends opening outward, their narrow apertures converging upon the absolute middle. The numbers 4 and 2, central to this philosophical treatise, represent the square and the circle, and all dualities that emerge from them. Multiplying these values yields 8 segments, forming the diagram's architecture. If the number 8 represents infinity in ancient mathematics, in Takeist philosophy, it marks the absolute middle point from which all geometric forms spring, at scales both infinitesimally small and cosmically vast. These forms shape the structure of the funnels, each facing in one of 4 distinct directions. The architecture of the universe that frames our existence rests on a remarkably simple equation. It is enough to know how to count to 8. Even a child can locate the meaning of their existence within this universal schema. DNA, with its double helix structure, echoes this design perfectly. The first funnel, vertical through its physical presence, the living being, as an individual entity, participates in the physical reality of the universe, the domain of space and time. This is the visible realm, the finite universe. The second funnel, horizontal though individually absent or deceased, the living being does not vanish. It returns to the universe and to its essential origin, the permanence of existence. This is the invisible realm, the infinite universe. The key to ultimate language lies in the absolute middle, a vantage point from which a particular light may be glimpsed, a light that reveals the true stakes of existence. At the center of the diagram resides the inception of a supreme velocity, alpha speed, whose nature exceeds comprehension. Explanation: the ultimate speed alpha, as formulated within Takeist philosophy, represents an absolute velocity, one that transcends space and time. To grasp this concept more fully, imagine a spinning bicycle wheel. As it accelerates, the spokes appear to move forward, then seem to stall before reversing their motion. This latency effect, this absolute balance where the spokes seem neither to advance nor retreat, mirrors the alpha speed encountered by the living at the threshold of birth and death. This velocity belongs to a state of pure latency, outside the linear stream of spacetime. At such speed, all motion becomes both suspended and complete, signifying a perfect harmony between beginning and end, between emergence and dissolution. In Takeist thought, alpha speed is a foundational concept, the cipher through which the deeper nature of the universe and of existence itself may be understood. At the moment of death, the body disengages from this point, and proceeds through the funnels, moving simultaneously toward the infinitesimally small and into the immeasurably vast. To finalize the diagram, Takeo surrounds the absolute middle with a sequence of interlocked squares and circles, using the diagonal lines as funnel structures. These now adopt the appearance of a photographic chamber. These narrowing and widening funnels resemble the tunnel through which individuals feel drawn during the near-death experience. The light at the end, irresistibly magnetic, is the very light recounted by Takeo in this treatise. That light reflects the ultimate existence, one which endures beyond life and death. This light, which we behold, resides within the infinitesimal point of the absolute middle, and at the farthest tips of the funnels. Though we possess 2 eyes, the mechanism of vision renders a single unified image. What, then, is the fundamental nature of such perception, one that transcends the bounds of the physical universe? Our eyes, shaped like an inverted figure 8, represented by the double 8 in the diagram, are not merely tools for capturing light. They are instruments of contemplation, a way of perceiving a dimension that transcends infinity itself. The true gaze upon life resides at the center of our eyes. Today, our field of vision rests upon a model presumed to be objective in nature, a template of the universe shaped by the geometry of the square. Humanity has gone so far as to adopt this form to make its bed, to square its nights. This reductive approach to existence is based upon the supremacy of wakefulness over sleep. In the 20th century, blinded by its limitations, mankind could hardly see beyond the tip of its own nose. In a distant future, humans will transcend this superficial dichotomy. There will be no division between body, wakefulness, and spirit, sleep, and even the blind will recover sight. Across millions of years, humanity has struggled in vain to synchronize the alternation of days and nights. It was an impossible endeavor, for it remained imprisoned between 2 unsynchronized states. Vision remained blurred, oscillating without transition from shadow to light, from black to white, until, at last, the key to harmony was revealed. This equilibrium, embodied in the absolute middle, evokes the sun poised at the horizon, the precise moment when a shared glow between day and night emerges before our eyes. It is that multifaceted light we admire at sunrise and sunset, a reflection of the absolute awakening possessed only by certain sages. Interlocking squares and circles define slices of space-time. These structure the funnels, comparable to hourglasses, of infinite proportions. The number 4, manifested as a square, symbolizes the finite and, by extension, the body, contained within a circle. Number 2, that represents the spirit. Number 4 incarnates matter. The diagram, shaped like a double helix with 4 blades, represents the limbs, arms and legs, that allow movement through space. In figure 16, we observe that these limbs are affixed to the corners of the square. The body, as embodiment of space, thus occupies its 4 cardinal points. The 8 segments that divide the square correspond to the 4 senses, housed within the head: vision, hearing, smell, and taste. Each sense is doubled: 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 2 lips. These 8 segments, inscribed within the square, are bound to a circle, symbol of the spirit, see figure 17. Takeo adds the numbers 4 and 8. Within Takeist philosophy, the number 12 signifies the triptych of Genesis. It is through the fusion of 2 beings that the living emerges. Life is born from space and time, body and spirit, manifesting the unity of 2 entities who together symbolize these cosmic dimensions. It is undeniable that organized religions have long established misleading frameworks of thought designed to exert control over individuals. We are well acquainted with the volatility of fanaticism. Its sensitivity is directly proportional to the depth of the chasm that separates it from truth. According to Takeist philosophy, if human beings misstep in their spiritual quest, it is because their considerations are forged primarily in daylight, within a conscious state confined to a narrow realm where the irrational is systematically excluded. In presuming objectivity, they forget the supernatural character of their own birth, an event over which they had no dominion. They subsequently forget that thought itself and the senses through which it flows are also supernatural phenomena, brought into being beyond any act of personal will. The universe is unity. A superior force dwells within the fabric of existence, one that perceives the universe not as fragments but as an indivisible whole. If living beings were likened to islands, their number would reach the billions strewn across a boundless ocean. And should some of them vanish, what would remain? The ocean itself. Living beings are not singularities, but islets of life in an ocean of absolute existence. On the nature of the senses. Why does Takeism speak of 4 senses, not 5? Answer. Within this philosophy, touch is not regarded as a sense in the conventional sense. Unlike sight or hearing, which are dual, manifested through pairs, touch is quadruple in nature. Explanation. Through touch, the human being is anchored to the physical world. The number 4, symbolized by the square, defines this contact, which is established primarily through the hands and feet. The 4 true senses reside in the domain of the spirit, in the head, and are inherently invisible. Touch, by contrast, belongs to the body. It is through touch that matter is shaped. The duality of body and spirit finds its clarity through this diagrammatic structure. In Takeist thought, the raised and spread positioning of the arms and legs, in relation to the spine as central vertical axis, reveals the structure of the double funnel depicted in the cosmic diagram. The navel, meanwhile, embodies the absolute middle of the body, the central point through which existence perpetuates itself in the cycle of birth and death. The spinal column links the reproductive system, which transmits life, to the crown of the skull, through which life concludes, see figure 17. Though the body may disappear from the physical plane, an absolute permanence persists through the senses. In figure 17, we observe that the limbs positioned at the corners of the square experience space through their contact with matter. Would we not wish happiness to become so permanent it could drown us in its stillness? Yet the universe is not built this way. We vanish. It endures. These diagrams show us there is no void, only the illusion of absence, a notion tied to death. As Takeism reveals, life perpetuates itself, despite ourselves, through us, within an absolute unity. The story of Pierre, of Marie, of a companion animal or a plant. These are passages from a collective book authored by all. In becoming part of the whole, the living becomes the whole. We are mineral, vegetal, animal, and human at once. Each individual bears within themselves the genesis of life. Born from a universe, the living being is the universe. The journey of the spermatozoon toward the ovum is a duplication of the Big Bang. The heart of each living being echoes the expanding motion of the cosmos. At death, the living retraces the entire arc of its existence in reverse, returning to its origin. Then comes the tunnel, the passage, and at its end the light appears, because it leads the living beyond their first cry, beyond birth itself. The light at the tunnel's end lies within the dawn of the Big Bang, an original state of permanence, beyond space, beyond time. At death, we relive the genesis of life inversely in fusion with all, the stories of men, animals, plants, and minerals, back to the singular spark. Death becomes a kind of time machine. This absolute light is the ultimate permanence, the home to which we return. Its locus is the center of the diagram, the beacon that sends to the living the glimmer of where they came from. The question that remains, what is the nature of this light? On the substance of light and love. If intelligence is a phenomenon native to the universe, then so too is love. Reproduction, the sexual act, is not merely a replication of the Big Bang. It is the expression of an infinitesimal fraction of an absolute love contained within that primordial seed. When we die, we return to the quintessence of the senses. And what then makes life worthy of being lived? What gives existence its meaning? A second Big Bang will occur, opposite to the first, marking the end of our universe once its mission has been fulfilled. And what is that mission? It is the calling to guide our universe and all living beings toward a degree of absolute perfection. After the age of space and time will come the age of space and time unified. Body and spirit, the visible and the invisible, shall fuse. The purpose of the living will be to accomplish this ultimate emancipation of existence, a state that will manifest in a time far beyond our own. Yes, there exists an infinite love dwelling at the very center of the diagram. On the nature of absolute light, at a certain threshold, all senses converge into one. Some creatures possess 8 eyes or 750 legs. Does this series of diagrams exclude the mineral, vegetal, and animal kingdoms? Answer: no, for the human being serves as messenger. It is to humanity that the mission has been entrusted, to lift the veil surrounding the meaning of existence for all living entities through the prism of the self. The role of the human is to become guardian of the well-being of the living, in its totality. In truth, it is life itself that stands at the center of the diagrams. This series, once arrested in its infancy by an ancient mind, just as the first flint strike was once withheld, is now placed within reach of all, through the lens of Takeist philosophy.